Fred drives a Ford station wagon. He bought it brand new in 2002. Even though Fred occasionally carts some computer equipment around in the back of the wagon, it still looks pretty good. Fred is a bit frugal. He likes to get good value from his purchases. He used his previous car for 12 years before he sold it in 2007 to his nephew. His nephew says by the time Fred finishes with the wagon, he'll have a family and need a bigger car. Uncle Fred always looks after his car, so they represent good bargain buying. The current book value of Fred's car is $8,000. Fred says he'll look after his nephew when the time comes. John exercises some constraint in his choices of cars. Unlike some of his associate colleagues, he doesn't drive an Italian supercar. John says, as a merchant banker, you should have to understand money. He says he'll make do with a German supercar. So he drives a brand new Porsche. The salesman at the Porsche dealership has a good relationship with John. He calls him every 6 months to see how things are going. Strangely, every 2 years when the warranty on the car runs out, John always gets an invitation to a drive day or an expensive dinner. John, for the last 3 cars, has purchased his car new at that event. The salesman is always able to offer some sweetener which makes it the right thing to do. John replaced his car this year. It cost $350,000. Thank you for joining us again, Dale.
Well, welcome, Kerry.
Yeah, getting to be quite a regular.
Thank you.
You're helping us just finalise the show on cash flow management.
Yep.
I particularly wanted you to help us here because really you're incredibly good at cash flow management within the clients within your group. Can you tell us just a client who's done very well with cash flow management and how you help them achieve that positive outcome?
Well, one that comes to mind is actually one that I thought would struggle with cash flow management, and it was really an education process in the initial probably 1 to 2 meetings at the start, and in the end they actually sat down and worked out what they needed to live off each individually because they wanted individual accounts, and then what they needed as a group account for bills and general everyday utilities, electricity, those type of things. But they've stuck to it really, really well, and their goal was to pay down debt but also get a cash flow system in place that would allow the debt to be managed and therefore then be paid down over a longer period of time.
That's why we found people get caught up on cash flow management because they think it's budgets.
Yep.
In fact, can you tell us a little bit about that? It's not really budgets, is it? It's really a system.
It's really a system, but also a structure. If you don't have the structure in place, it will all fall apart. A lot of people in everyday life have just one account where their salary goes in and their expenses come out of. So they actually don't have set accounts for set expenses, and that really does come in useful because it can allow you to pre-plan and pre-budget or pre-manage your cash flow on a longer term basis when you know, say, your contents or building insurance will be due in 6 months' time.
We have spent a little bit of time on the show looking at different accounts. So like a business runs a profit and loss and a balance sheet, we believe that it's a good way to run your personal affairs as well. Is this a good approach, separating investments from normal everyday cash flow?
Oh, I definitely think so. You need to know where your money's going, and that becomes your structure, so therefore you can have separate accounts. If I use myself as an example, I've got a savings account, I've got a bills account for the lumpy bills which will be due in 5 to 6 months' time, plus I've got also a spending allowance which is therefore allows me to have a set weekly or fortnightly management account which covers like food and general everyday living expenses.
And do you keep your investments separately managed as well?
Yes, I definitely do, because you need to know what that is, and it also, let's face it, when your accountant or even a financial planner like myself wants to discuss these things, if you have them separated, it makes it easier for myself, for your accountant, and hopefully in the longer run saves you time and money.
So for the viewers, what's the first step in creating a cash flow management system?
Probably identify where your current cash flow system is at.
We're back to that terrible word again, aren't we?
We are.
We're back to budget. And the cash flow management system, you must know where your money's flowing before you can build it.
Yeah, exactly. Most people have no idea, to be blunt, and that's the biggest hurdle that they come across. They feel like they're living from week to week, so they get their pay, then they spend all that in the first week and they survive off very little for that last week until the next payday. What you can actually do is by structuring it, and that's where the cash flow structure or management system comes into place. You then can make them live off that over the full 2 weeks rather than spending it all in the first 2 days and then somehow surviving over the next 10 to 12.
We introduced the concept, or we discussed Clayson's book, The Richest Man in Babylon, in one of the early series.
Yep.
And he proposes that you put away 10% of everything you earn. If you were to do that, would you still need a budget, do you think?
I think if you can do that, that's great, but the issue is if you're going for people that have never had a cash flow or budget in place and then trying to save 10% straight up, it's good if you can do it, but a lot of people struggle, and unless you're not on top of it in the first probably 2 to 3 months is when it can fail. That's where a good financial planner or, again, the goals and objectives come into place.
Well, I think it's goals and objectives because we're trying to teach our viewers, if you like, to do it by themselves.
Yeah, well, that's the key. You need to have an objective, and debt management, or travel overseas, or just saving for the house deposit. If you've got that goal, then being able to save that 5 to 10% does become a bit easier because you know what you're aiming for in the longer term.
That's right. So here we have it. We're back to that nasty word budget again. It is necessary. We do have to do it, but we don't actually have to live by it. It's simply a starting point. Once we have a budget, we can build a cash management plan.
No, exactly right.
Yeah. So there we go. Start a budget. You don't have to be silly. You don't have to write down every cup of coffee. Just give yourself $20 for the week and stick to it. It doesn't have to be a religion. You can be wrong. You can make a mistake. All you have to know is what you're spending, and when you know what you're spending, you can build a system to do that automatically. So budgeting is a step in the process. It's not a religion. You only have to do it once. Don't forget our competition. Please go to the website and sign up for our 100 Goal Challenge. Prizes are being generously awarded by AIA Australia, who are giving a free risk assessment away every week, and 2 iPads to be won throughout the series. And also Keith Abraham, who's donated his book about finding your passion. Go to the website wealthplan.tv. Thank you for joining us on Wealth Plan TV. I hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we'll be dealing with debt.